Shout out to our affiliates, VeVe Digital Collectibles. Join the future of collecting with VeVe, where the world collects. Whether you're a die-hard fan, a passionate collector, or new to the world of collecting, VeVe is your gateway to premium, officially licensed digital collectibles, comics, and artworks from some of the biggest brands on the planet, such as Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and many more. Check out the affiliate link in the description box below, or use the QR code that you see on the screen for $10 off your first purchase.
Hey, what's up? Welcome. We are back with another episode of
From Toontown?
Yes, to Tokyo. Hold on, we got horns.
Yay!
There we go. We nailed it. No, it's okay. It's anticipation. We're building anticipation. We nailed it. We nailed it. Hey. Yes, we are back at it again. My name is Emojii, and I am here with
Magic.
Are you gonna do the okay. All right. I see you.
These are all friends. These should know, Magic.
I feel you. Yes, we are back at it again, and this time we are reviewing Death Note. I gotta hit it.
Yay!
There we go. Yeah, this is your first anime that's the actual series that you're doing. The last two ones that we did were movies.
Yes, and thank you for only giving me 7 episodes, because how many episodes are there?
For Death Note, I want to say there's 36, I think, which isn't that crazy because they're only like 22 minutes long. They're not like super long, you know.
It's still an investment.
It is. But I mean, initially, right? This is your first series, right? I gave you 7 episodes because I felt that first 7 give you enough insight as far as what the show is like, what the show is about, whether you're even interested in it. I think you kind of get a good range from those first 7. So, I mean,
why did you pick 7 though? Why that number?
Because of where the story is at that point. Like,
so you did it intentionally to mess with me.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? How did I mess with you?
It ends on the 7th episode ends on a complete cliffhanger, and I'm like, you did that on purpose.
Well, I thought it was pretty resolved with what happened.
Okay, so I guess I can guess what's going to happen to the character that it ends off with at the end of the 7th episode.
Oh, that she kills herself?
Yeah, but I still kind of want to know. Like, I need closure.
I mean, it doesn't show you. Like, it doesn't show. It doesn't actually show what happened, but you know it. You know what happens. But all right, we should probably fill people in, right? Because like they probably don't. Okay, so the show that we reviewed is Death Note, an amazing anime, which is one of my animes that I would recommend people watch for the first. This is, I think, a good entry level anime. And
why?
Well, because like it's not too foreign. Like, it's not too like certain things in the anime in the story is very similar to a lot of thrillers that we see out in the West. Like, there's not a
except that you told me about culturally like what was going on with the
Shinigami
what they're called. Yeah, and like I wouldn't know that. Like I don't know that that's like a cultural reference that, you know, the Asian culture is very familiar with. Like it's I guess you would kind of like
it's like the Grim Reaper, like, you know, what we have is the Grim Reaper.
But you would also kind of compare it to like Greek mythology, like Greek gods. Like it's just like that's kind of something ingrained in certain cultures. But I mean, I didn't know anything about them going in, so I was like, what's up with like ripped off Joker?
Death metal Joker. Ooh, it's like Batman Who Laughs. It's like the Batman.
Yeah, he looks like him.
He does. And for those who don't know, he's up here right in the corner. Shout out Ryuk. Dancing in the corner. And here is another version of him right there. Let's go.
Yay!
Yes, so it does deal with that, Japanese lore, Shinigami or gods of death, and the story. I guess I can break down the story, right, to fill people in. So the story starts off with this, A student, high school kid, and very promising, as far as academically, he's going places, but he's very unsatisfied with society. He's very unsatisfied with the crime. He lives in a city, he's used to seeing crime all the time, and he wishes to bring about change, right? And here's where the fantasy side of it, because you're dealing with these gods of death, or these grim reapers, or these Shinigami, and one of them is bored one day, and with these gods of death, what they do is they have notebooks where if they write your name in the notebook, you die, and they do that by prolonging their life. But he was like, what would happen if I just drop my notebook into the human world and a human got it? Like what? And so he did that just for fun. He was like, let me just drop this notebook where all you got to do is write someone's name in it and they die, and let's see who picks it up, and let's see what fun I can have watching what happens. So the main character,
he seems to really enjoy that, by the way.
Who, me?
Really enjoy that.
Ryuk?
No, the Ryuk. Like, he seems to he's loving non-life.
Yeah, well, he's bored. Like, you saw what it looked like in their home.
Yeah, he lives basically shout out to Mufasa. He lives in the
elephant graveyard.
Yeah, he lives in the graveyard. It looks really boring.
Yes. It is like the elephant graveyard. But yeah, so he's bored, and he was like, let me just drop this book down here and, see what happens. Light, the kid, I was talking about, A student, unhappy with society. He gets the book and he picks it up, and the rules are in the book. Like, the persons whose name is written in this book, they'll die. They'll die of a heart attack, or you can specialize how they die if you write it out within a certain amount of time, and you can dictate the way that they die. So there's all of these rules, right, to it. And
there's a lot of rules, by the way. There's a lot of rules.
They can't complain about me anymore for the rules that I do for Spaces. I don't give rules close to the amount of rules.
Is this where you got inspired, though?
I mean, I like to cover all my bases. But yeah, so he gets the book, and he's looking through it. He's like, is this real or is this a joke? And he wants to try it out, but he's like, if it's real, I don't know what will happen. So he tries it out on, he's watching the news one day, and there's a criminal that has a hostage situation on the news, right? And they post his face and his name. He's like, I'll try it out in this situation. He does, and all the hostages run out, and he finds out that the dude died of a heart attack, so he knows that it's real. Now, Magic, for you, going into it at the beginning, right? What did you think of this setup? I mean, was it too far-fetched for you? What?
No, I don't think it was too far-fetched. I thought it was intriguing, and I thought it was interesting, and I actually kind of liked the theme, or the storyline, because I thought it was really creative, and yet I don't know, I feel like a lot of people think a lot about life and death and afterlife and what's really out there, and I think that's true with any and every culture, and so I thought it was an interesting storyline for sure. The thing that has kept me drawn in to the show is sort of the progression with Light and his storyline. It was interesting to watch. Granted, I've only seen the first 7 episodes, but maybe I'm jumping ahead. I'm just kind of disappointed that he sort of abandoned his
humanity.
Yeah, so quickly. So quickly. That bothered me.
I think that, and you're dealing with, first, everyone in the audience, you're dealing with someone that has like this God complex. And
but you don't know that. Like, I thought he was like this humble, smart guy. Like, I guess I gave him too much credit, but I thought he was like a stand-up dude. You know?
But you kind of get the picture even in the first episode, because when he gets the power, right? Like, like the idea of like absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? When he gets the power, he rationalizes it that he's going to do it in a way, he's going to use it in a way to get rid of bad people, right? Okay.
He's going to use his power for good.
Yeah, and that's how he rationalized it. But then he also goes so far to say, like, well, I want to be the god of this new world that I'm going to create. And that is when you're kind of like getting a piece of who he really is, right? But how many people in life go about, with a certain exterior, a certain way that they present themselves, but there's a much more selfish nature behind it. And that's kind of like what I pictured it, right? Like, just because you have like good grades, or you have this image of being like the role model student and things like that, that doesn't mean that, that the motives are pure. And
nobody's perfect.
Exactly. So this story is kind of like that. Is you're delving into his psyche. And I mean, you find out that, the kid is brilliant. Like, he's very smart. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So when he starts killing people, right? Police start picking up on it. Like, what's going on? Now, obviously, he doesn't have to be there. So there's no forensics. There's nothing where they can tell, as far as, traditionally how they would solve a crime. But there's this genius detective, right, who's known for breaking all of these cases, and he's able to narrow it down. Did you want to like go through that real quick, and maybe tell me your thoughts on that process of how he was able to kind of like trip up Light a little bit?
Yeah, so when all this stuff starts happening, and there's like, it's gotten to the point where I don't remember the exact number, but there's like multiple killings and everybody's but dying through heart attack. And so, the police are like, what's going on? Like, this is too, like, this isn't, like, it's impossible. Like, there's there's somebody behind all this. This is not natural. And they bring in Elle, who I guess they've worked with in the past, but he's sort of like this anonymous person, but has a knack for just understanding, solving cases. And so they go on this broadcast on national television and talk about everything. And they sort of like set up Light with, I forget what it is that they say specifically, but you end up finding out that this broadcast only went to a specific region. So automatically, it's not worldwide, it's not nationwide, it was a specific region. So already they know, like, this person lives in this region because nobody else saw this stuff. And they like, what did they do? They had
someone that was on death row pretend to be Elle.
No, they had, yes, sorry. They had a stand-in posing as if it was Elle, and this guy's on camera, and so he sees him, and he's able to put his name in the notebook. But how did they do that though? Did he give like said this is my real name?
He had it on a name tag. He had it on a name tag right in front of him. So they set it up for like he could see his name and his face easily.
Exactly.
To see if
they set him up. Yeah, they set him up, and then based off that, they knew that okay, the murderer is in this specific region. So like right out the gate, you know that like Elle is like brilliant. Like like they for wit, they're like extremely matched.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things about this show. It's really a game of cat and mouse. And also big shout out to Elle, who is in the corner right there. But yeah, that's the whole theme behind the show. It's this game of cat and mouse where you're dealing with two geniuses and you're kind of like delving into their mind. And that was another thing I had to text you about. A lot of this is inner monologue, right? Kind of like if you were reading a book and you're kind of like, they're thinking out their moves, like a game of chess. But both are very brilliant. So what did you think of kind of that, like that scene that I'll tell you what I thought afterward. But like, you know, that exchange, their first confrontation, like, how did that make you feel as a viewer, especially a new viewer of anime?
Okay. I don't know exactly what you're like fishing for in terms of my reaction. I guess I was just like, oh, okay, now it's game on. Like,
No, that's perfect.
I thought this guy was like, you know, gonna be able to get away with this stuff. And, you know, I knew that Elle was brought into the picture and was like wanting to figure out what's going on and was investigating. But that scene, I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Cause I'm like, dang, they brought this guy in here and they already killed him off. And then when I found out that it wasn't really him, I was like, okay, now we have something going here. So yeah, like I was just like, okay, now we're gonna see basically two characters
go at it,
battling it out. Like who's gonna win, and who do you want to win? That's also the other thing, right? And you kind of like you go back and forth a little bit of like 1 minute you want Light to win, the next minute you want Elle to win. Like it's this weird kind of back and forth.
It is. You know what? You know why too? Also because Light is the main character. Right. So, and it's interesting, you know, and as we go, I think by the end of by the end of 7 episodes, you realize that Light is a villain.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
So, so it's interesting because like you're watching this show and the main character is a villain, but you're seeing him kind of like, you're seeing that descent into, once again, something that kind of was already there, just maybe not to this degree because he didn't have the power that he did. But I agree with you. That scene, that first exchange with Light and Elle, that was the thing that hooked me to the show. And I think that happened like in episode 2. And typically I'll give like an anime like 3 episodes until I, you know, decide whether I want to continue watching it or not. And I was locked in at that point. I was locked in. I was like, okay, I want to see what happens. This is pretty interesting.
I will say, like, I was concerned that it was going to be like, well, just give it 3 episodes, give it a, you know, good honest try. Don't like, you don't have to watch it. But I was hooked relatively early. There's points in the show where I feel like things are drawn out like longer than they need to be, and I'm starting. Granted, this is only like my 3rd experience, but I'm starting to see that I guess maybe just the storytelling is different. Yeah.
Maybe more focus. Yeah, more focus on other things and things.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like there's way more detail, and yet at the same time, you know, we did our Wolf Children review. There's also like I feel like a lot of loose ends, and so that's what's frustrating to me. And so that's part of what makes me want to watch the show a little bit more. Like I want to have everything tied up really neat and tidy. And I haven't decided if the show is going to do that for me. Like, I just really don't like loose ends, which is something that I'm getting to see as a bit part of anime. Wait.
Hold on. Because I told you to watch 7 episodes, and then I was like, you only are required to watch the 7 episodes.
Here we go.
And then beyond that, it's up to you. Like, so if you like it, by all means, so you're telling me that those 7 episodes was enough to make you say, you know what, I want to watch the rest of the series now?
No.
You just said like
I didn't know. I said I don't like loose ends. But I'm not like, I gotta go 30 more episodes, 31.
It's gonna go by quick. It's only 22. You're only 7 episodes in. It's at 22 minutes. You'll get through it quickly. We'll see. Trust me. Hey,
if we're gonna do
let's go.
Yay!
If I am gonna do it, then I think we need to have it be like 2 more parts of this like kind of review situation.
We could.
And if people are interested, if people, you know, if they're like, okay, let's have her continue and see how you guys break down the show. I love the feedback.
If you guys
can live without watching it.
If you guys want VeVeMagic or Magic to continue watching Death Note, throw some hundreds in the comments. Yay! Let's go. Let us know if you want her to finish this series. All right, but already...
Do you know there are a couple people that will say yes, but
I know.
We'll see.
I know. But already, I don't know, you seem pretty locked in. Just saying. Hold on, I'm gonna have Ryuko with the hard eyes. There we go. Hey. All right, so after that, you see more of, their intelligence, and, Light goes to like this elaborate extent to try and hide the Death Note to make sure nobody finds it. And, L kind of like gets closer and closer, and it gets to this point where these FBI agents, obviously from America, come into Japan and start investigating. And Light has an FBI agent that's on his tail, that's tracking him. And he ends up getting rid of the FBI agent, but he's kind of concerned that the way that he did it, well, first off, he gets rid of not only that FBI, he gets rid of all the FBI agents that are that
was diabolical.
Yeah. And just the way that he did it, he had like the FBI agent, get a message from the other FBI agent. So the own agent is the one that technically killed all the other agents because he was writing it on the piece of paper that was the Death Note, but he didn't know it was the Death. Like, it was this whole elaborate, crazy thing that was OD that took out all of the FBI agents. And I mean, kudos to Light for that, because that was another kind of like stroke of genius. I was like, yo, dang, like, how did he figure out like how to get past this? Before going into the next part, which is probably the big thing that you'll probably want to talk about, what did you think of that? Kind of like seeing, I guess, both Light and L and their intelligence as things kind of like grew out, and Light having to, deal with some of the things, whether it be the FBI agents, and L kind of like getting clues and cracking in and dialing in closer to him. How did you feel kind of like that?
I mean, I think describing the show as like a chess match is basically like the perfect way to describe it, is because they basically at all times are trying to outsmart one another. And, it's like at one point, L figures out that, okay, he's killing from like this time to this time, and like figures out like, oh, he must be a student. And so then Light has to respond and like make it seem like, no, that's not true, and has to like do all these things to like mix it up.
But he's extra with it, and he does stuff that's going to to deliberately like hit back. Like, it's not necessarily that he covers his tracks. He covers his tracks, and it does stuff to dig it out.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is like he not only counters, but he's like an aggressive counter. Like he really wants to like piss off L and be like, no, I'm the top dog. Like, it is just like this, it's kind of like this pissy match between the two of them, honestly.
It is.
And then they figure out that Light has basically whoever what do they call him? I forget the name.
Kira.
Whoever Kira is, also somehow has access to police records. And so then they're thinking they're like related to the police or know the police or whatever, because they're able to get this information that was like nowhere else. It's just interesting how every like L gets like one step closer to Light, and then Light foils it, but at the same time he's sort of like he does so, but he instigates him. Like he does it in a way to like piss him off more, and almost like really throw himself under the bus, because like, yeah, you fixed that, but you sort of like also are like sending alarm bells out. Like, I think he's too smart. He thinks something my dad would say, he's too cute by half. He thinks he's real cute.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that another Cali saying, like hang right? Or is that just specifically for your dad?
Everybody knows hang a right. Hang a right means turn right. Like,
okay. I believe you. I believe you.
No, I think that's just like an older saying. I don't know that it's a Cali thing. I think it's just an older saying.
I like it. All right, cool. Yes, and that's what it is. And ultimately, like, so they're doing that, and Light, gets rid of these FBI agents, but something is bugging him. Like, he kind of like left. There was something that was done that was sloppy. And it had to do with the FBI. When he first met the FBI agent and got the FBI agent's information, there was like this bus jacking that Light had set up. but it was the only time that FBI agent had contact with Light. So Light knew that if anyone knew that Light had contact with that FBI agent at that bus jacking, then the jig would be up, right?
Yep.
Now he was like, that's the only loose end, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to figure that out. But that FBI agent had a wife that he went home and talked to. And she knew that he was investigating. Like, she thought that whole like bus jacking was weird because right afterward, the guy that jacked the bus, he died, right? So she was like, this all feels weird. And she started putting two to two together and realized that, wait, I think that whoever my husband was investigating on that bus was Kira. And she's going to give that information to the cops. Now, here's where things get interesting. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this because for me, this is one of like the top parts of the show. So it was interesting because I'm watching the show and I don't know how Light is going to I don't know how he's going to get through this. I don't know how he's going to be okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So basically what happens is she goes to the police station and Light just happens to be going to the police station at the same time. And he's dropping off some clothes for his dad, right? And he overhears her talking about she has this important information for Elle regarding the case. And out of curiosity, Light is kind of like, oh, well, like, you know, my dad is on the task force and stuff like that. Maybe I can convey a message or maybe I can, like, you know, reach out to him. His phone is dead right now. But, you know, if you hang out with me for a little bit, once it's on, you know, I'm sure, you know, I can get you in contact with him. So she agrees to do that. And she starts talking to him and he starts realizing what she knows. And he's like, oh, snap. If she brought this information, like I would be cooked. Yeah, he was like, I would be cooked. So he's like, oh, it's good. Yo, like fortune has it because that I found this woman before she could talk to the cops. So, you know, he's talking to her, he's getting her information. He's like, all right, you know, well, let me write this down, you know, so I can take this information down. What's your name? Da, 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 da. You know, writes it down. And then, you know, he wants to make it inconspicuous so she doesn't like die right then and there. So he writes a note saying that she'll go, you know, somewhere and commit suicide within like 48 hours. So he waits and then nothing happens.
No, but it's not even 48 hours. It was supposed to be like a minute from
well, no.
Like he writes it.
The suicide was supposed to happen 48 hours, but the trigger was supposed to happen in like a minute or so, or 40 seconds. Right. So he waits like 40 seconds for her to go off, right, and go into this like daze of like, you know, forget what I'm doing, and that doesn't happen. She maintains her sense of awareness, and he's like, what's going on? And then he notices Ryuk, the Shinigami. Let's bring him up. There we go.
Yay!
Ryuk is laughing and hysterically laughing. He's like, what is this dude laughing at? And he realizes that Ryuk had posed to him a proposition.
Opportunity is the right word.
Opportunity,
proposition.
Right? Or proposition, where if he sacrificed half of his life, then he could get what's called Shinigami eyes, which means if he looks at someone, he knows their name. He doesn't have to, you know, find out their name. All he has to do is see them and he knows their name. But Light was like, no, I need to rule the world. I need to rule the world for as long as possible. So, you know, it doesn't really behoove me to cut my life span. So he's like, I'm not doing that. And he realizes that
he actually gave that like quite a bit of thought though, which
he did
kind of surprised me. It wasn't like a hell no. He was like, this is interesting. Like I could do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, You're seriously considering this? Are you insane?
Just wait. But yeah, so he thinks about it, he's like, no, but then he realizes that's why Ryuk is laughing. The name that she gave me is the wrong name. And Ryuk knows
Brilliant
that.
On her part, by the way.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. Well, she had known that more than likely the reason why her husband died was because he had because that's the thing. Her husband told her that he was put in a situation where he had to show someone on the bus his ID, which had his name on it. And that's another thing that she was like, whoever he showed his ID to was Kira. So she was like extra precautious. So now this puts
Good on
light.
her.
Yeah, but now it puts
Because he
light.
was convincing.
He was. But now it puts light in a weird circumstance because he knows that that's not her right name. He can't disclose that, obviously, because then he looks like mad sus. And he's on a timeline. Like, she's going to tell the cops what she knows, and that's going to be the end of it. And he doesn't know how can he get her name, like how, without looking weird, right? And that, for me, that was like the dilemma. I'm just like, yo, like, he's cooked. Like, how is he gonna, like, this woman is really, really sharp. Like, she's not trusting him at all, completely.
I thought he was gonna like actually commit murder. Like,
You thought he was gonna like physically attack her.
Like, I thought he was going to like kidnap her, like lock her up somewhere. Because I'm like, how do you get out of this? Like, I thought she was done.
He thought about it
at his own hands, which would have screwed him up overall, you know?
Yeah. And it would have been like, and I mean, he thought about that too. It's like, it's very sloppy for him to do that, right? And once again, It goes back to how calculated Light is. Like, Light is very, very calculated. And for him to do that, you know, that's kind of another thing that's going to have a whole bunch of loose ends, right? So he's thinking about, well, how do I convince her? Now, at this moment, during this exchange, what were you thinking, like, going into this? Like, did you kind of like have that same thing? Like, I don't know how he's going to get past, like, he's cooked, like what?
Yeah. I literally, I was like, okay, he's figured out that she's really smart and that she doesn't trust anybody. And she's basically like been directed by her husband, like, do not trust anybody. Cause like, I thought like that was a twist for me when she didn't commit suicide. I was like, oh, dang. Like, and it took me a minute to figure out that she'd given him a fake name. And then I was like, I sat there thinking, like, there's no way that she's going to give him her name. Like, there's just no way.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna have to take that deal with Ryuk.
So he doesn't, and he does end up getting her name. Did you want to go into that and tell me what you thought of kind of like how he finessed that?
You're gonna have to forgive me because I've been watching so much stuff.
No
I
worries.
literally forgot how that happens.
No worries. But he
I'm gonna be like, oh god.
he ends up telling her that he is part of the task force.
Right.
Which right then he has to figure out something, because if she talks to anybody in task force and they say that he's not part of the task force, he looks sus, right? So, you know, he tells her that he's part of the task force, and he goes into all of this stuff. And it's funny because she even says that she worked with L before. That's why she only trusted L initially. And, you know, he kind of like leans into the fact that this task force is only off of, you know, people that L trusts. You know, that's the only way you can make it into this task force. And obviously he has all of this inside information, but he has inside information because he is Kira, right? So he knows, you know, all of this stuff.
He's having to like sell it to her. And then I remember like he says, basically like if she wants to move forward anymore, he's going to need to see a form of identification. Correct?
Yo, he hits her. He hits her with, you can join the task force if you really want to. So he switched it around and played to like her desire to actually want to help and be a part of this, because that's not something that she was going to just convey information. But obviously, being, you know, that her husband died, of course she would want to be a part of it. She would want to be a part of taking people down. And that was another thing. She was an FBI agent. He did get that information. So when he got that information, or former FBI agent, then he leaned into that, her sense of, you know.
And that's what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was actually going to like just take the risk of leaving her for an hour or two and hope that nothing happens. But in the meantime, like I thought he was going to go back to the house and like hack into databases and get her name based off the fact that she had worked with the FBI. That's what I thought he was going to do. I didn't think she would ever give up her name.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think he would have had enough time to do that. He had 5 minutes. Like, she was literally going to the precinct right there, so he had to act quick. But yeah, so he kind of like plays into that. Then she becomes more desperate, like, oh yeah, I want to help. And then, you know, he's like, all right, well, you know, I'll just give your name, you know, to, you know, the superiors, and we can definitely do that. And then she's like, well, I have to confess, I gave you the wrong name. And then she gives him her correct name. And here's where the chilling part happens. Actually, she gives him her ID. And, he's like, all right, I'll take down the information. And he's taking it down and he's looking at his watch. And she noticed that he has been looking at his watch often. She's like, why, if you don't mind me asking, why do you keep looking at your watch? And soon as the second hand hits 40 seconds, he looks up at her and he says, because I'm Kira. And her face changes. Like you see like that shock and fear in her face. But then immediately, because the death note like took hold, all of that just disappears. And then she goes off to do, what he had written for her to do. But
that's how the episode ends, is like, yes, you assume that's what is going to happen, but it ends with her like walking away and you're like, and then? So like, I'm mad.
Well, it ends up with her open away, but then you see like a little.
I want to know where, when. Like,
well, you see a little silhouette of like a hangman noose, which is like I guess symbolic. Yeah. But another thing too, talking about Light and his characteristic, he toys with her as she walks away.
Yeah,
like
I don't like the guy anymore. At first, I liked him. He's mean. And
yeah.
He's like. He's devilish. Like he's really, you see him in this show start off with like, even like taking the law in his own hands, but for a good purpose. Mm-hmm. And you see it just like really morphs into something like much deeper, and it goes into the whole God complex and everything. And then you're like, Did the book like taint you, or was this who you were all along and you're just now like realizing it? Like there's a lot of depth of psychology in this whole thing as well. Indeed.
And just to give the audience what he does. So when she walks away, and obviously at this point she's already like entranced, by the death note. So she's already going to commit suicide. And he asked her, he pulls out his phone. He says, "Oh, my dad's free now. Do you want to talk to him?" And then she's like, "No, I have something I have to do." And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. But that goes back to like his mentality of kind of like wanting to, and that's the thing with L, right? It wasn't enough to just kind of like cover his tracks. He had to let them know that, no, you are being beaten by someone, right? Like he had to rub it in. And Magic, you brought up a really, really interesting point. And I think that this is an interesting theme on this, because of the fact that you start out with Light being like this model person, right? Model student, model person, but he's given this power, right? This amazing power. And now it comes to, well, what type of person are you? Because a lot of times people may be who they are due to their circumstances, right? Like you can't really live out maybe who you might be internally because you don't have the means to. But if you did, who would you be? And I think that this kind of like poses that question too.
Yeah, I feel like he let the power change him. Like I think I won't say in his core, because if that was your core, you wouldn't act differently. But I think he thought he wanted to do good. Mm-hmm. And then when he realized he had like unobtainable power over mankind, it really changed him. And it was really interesting to watch that.
So the only thing that I'm thinking too, it was a comment that was made by the Shinigami when he first appears. Because at first, like the Shinigami doesn't appear to you, I think, until like 40 days after you'd had the book in your possession, around there. Because Ryuk didn't come like right away, right? And the one comment that Ryuk made when Ryuk first saw Light was, normally when the humans get like a hold of a death note, they're reserved to like write names. And he was like, "You filled up like almost half the book already." Like, I've never seen, I've never seen anyone fill this much. And to me, that made me think like, maybe Light was like never a good person. Like maybe he was always a bad person, but he kept up with appearances, you know, and maybe down the line that would have surfaced in a different way. Maybe not this grand, right? But maybe he's a kid at that point, right? Maybe he gets a different level of power, maybe in the police force or maybe in something or politics or something like that, a different level of power. And he would have still went down the same path, you know, maybe on a lesser degree because it's a lesser, you know, amount of power. But I don't know. I feel like this was always a light thing where he thought of himself as being superior to other people. And that's kind of like what it stemmed down to.
I mean, I guess that's the one thing that's kind of interesting about this show as well is that you don't get like, which is like been one of my biggest critiques. You don't get like 3 episodes telling you like the life story of this character, and so that you feel like you really know this character to a T. Like it's a pretty quick transition. You get the overall gist that he's a model student, you know, he abides by the law, he doesn't like the society as evil, and so you sort of this blanket idea of the person he is over him, but in reality, we actually really don't get to know the character that well before he gets this death note.
True. And actually, that was a question I wanted to ask you, because on one of the prior animes that we reviewed, you had mentioned as far as like a lot of the things are, and this is something that I heard even outside of you. I sent you a YouTube video. I don't know if you got to watch it yet, but how you know Disney focuses on the characters. Right? Like they really, really focus in on the characters and, you know, what the characters are going through. And a lot of times with anime, it focuses on the circumstances, right? But I wanted to ask you with the character of Light, do you feel that this character was a little bit more like maybe a fleshed out character than some of the other characters? Like, do you feel like you can, I don't want to use, not identify because that's relate, but I mean like, the character is a little bit more real than some of the other characters that you or fleshed out. Maybe even fleshed out. Yeah.
Fleshed out's not the right word. Real, as in you're dealing with real human emotions and things that I think a lot of people can relate to. You know, injustice in the world, crime. Like you connect with him based on, you know, similar ideals, but. This is where, yes, I did watch that YouTube you sent me, and it totally aligns because I didn't get the character development with Light, like not an extended. It was just sort of like a brief, short, like this is who Light is. But my mind went and filled in the gaps. And I'm like, this is a stand-up guy. I like him. I can't wait to see how this goes. And that all backfired. So the emotion was not based on the character. It is completely based on circumstance, and you're sort of like proven wrong that like you inferred and thought that this is how it was going to be when it wasn't the case. So yeah, I am missing, and that's like the Disney anime comparison. I don't like that I didn't have enough character development, but now it makes that YouTube video that you showed me make sense. Because like it's purposeful. Like it's supposed to be about like what's going on, not the person itself. Now, what I will say, you know, if you do end up watching more of this, the show isn't over, so you will find out a lot more about Light. It's still going? I mean, you got 36 more episodes. 36 episodes. Oh, but like, is it done? Oh, no, like it's done. It's done. Okay. But after 36, but I'm saying you're not done with it, right? So there's still more. There's still more. But I mean, I guess we'll leave it up to panel as far as whether they think you should continue it or not. But you wouldn't be opposed, it sounds like? You're interested to know what happens. I must. Hey. Yay! Let's go. All right. So what did you, before we wrap things up, what were your thoughts? What did you think going into this? This is definitely different from any other anime that we've done before, between, you know, Your Name, which is more romantic, Jose, Wolf Children, which is like kind of like, you know, for parents. This was more psychological thriller. I'm trying to give you a wide range of different things. So what were your thoughts of this? Yeah, I found it interesting. I will say it grabbed my attention quicker than the 2 anime films that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
I was like really taken aback by like these Shinigami. How do I say it?
Shinigami?
Yeah, like
Shinigami.
some wild looking creatures that they drew. I still can't just like, all I see is Joker. I'm sorry, it's playing my culture, but I still see like janky Joker every time I look at the guy.
Janky Joker?
Janky Joker.
Hashtag in the comments. Hashtag Janky Joker in the comments.
Yeah, like I thought it was really interesting. You do have to pay attention. Like first off, I started it with the wrong language, and that was bad news. I'm so glad I messaged you, and I'm like, you really trying to get me to read subtitles for hours?
Don't let the anime people hit. Some will tell you that you are not allowed to watch it in English. You have to watch it sub. Don't listen to them. But yes,
no.
you can watch it in dub if you want to. You can watch it in dub.
Even still, like you have to be, some things I can watch and like do a little like side multitasking, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had to be locked in.
Yes.
But I did like that it was. I still think some parts are slow and drawn out, but it still keeps my attention. There are parts that I'm like, okay, I get it. But overall, it keeps my attention. So I'm not mad at it.
Awesome. Well, there we have it. So another one in the books. You enjoyed it. You're willing to watch more. I guess if we do that, then we'll come back on another episode and review it some more, right?
Yes. And I hope people give like their interactions and feedback too, sort of like these first 7 episodes, because I want to see like if everyone was sort of like, I like knowing other people's perspectives on their viewing experience, if they were like on the same page with us or if they were like on a completely different, I don't know, journey than you or I were. So I really love the participation in our streams.
Definitely.
So please, all the comments.
Let us know. All right. So that wraps up our review of Death Note. We're not scoring them, right? Or are we scoring them? What are we doing? Is this too much on the spot? Are we?
They want the scores.
They want scores. So what would you score it?
I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Really? Okay, so we're breaking out of 7. Let's go. We're breaking out of 7s. Let's get it. Well, you heard it here first. Yo, every anime you've been watching, you've been giving some good scores to. I don't know. We might have a new anime fan. Yo,
wait for the next
VV
one.
Discord, y'all may have a new person in the anime chat on the regular. Just letting y'all know.
Not happening, guys. But our next review, brace thyself.
We shall see. All right. So we'll catch y'all next time. My name is Emojii. I am here with
Magic.
And this has been...
I'm doing it from Toontown.
You told me you wanted to do the from Toontown part. Okay. All right. Wait, we're gonna do this again. All right. Rewind. Bring it back. Right. Hi. All right, everyone. My name is Emojii. Well, not all the way. Well, my name is Emojii. I am here with
Magic.
And this has been
Toontown
to Tokyo. I guess we could say the 2. You know what? Let me just cut this.
We did 2 2s.
Thank you for joining, everyone. Peace.